Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and this is going to be a quick video. This video is actually a direct response to one of my subscribers who wrote me earlier today asking about some of the differences and similarities between the Trijicon RMR and the Holosun HS507C. I've had a great experience with both of these sights, but the Holosun has a lot of great features to it, and it's significantly less expensive than the RMR. However, the RMR is known to be extremely rugged. It's very simple and easy to use, so I can see where, the dilemma is there. Do I spend a lot of money and get that simplicity and a rugged, tough, tested optic? Or do I go with something a little bit newer that's less expensive but has a ton of features? So what we're going to do is we're going to take both these to the table and we'll do a quick side-by-side. So if you're kind of in the same camp, which I totally understand when you're shopping for optics, it is very hard to make that final decision. But I'll put these on the table so if you are looking yourself, you'll be able to decide, which one is right for you and your needs. Okay, so here's our two optics on the table for comparison. I'm going to leave these on the slides because when I installed them, I used a little bit of Loctite and I don't want to break the seal just for a quick comparison. But I still think we'll be able to get everything that we need to get done just by having these in front of you right here. I even have some calipers, so we'll be able to do some quick dimensional measurements and show you guys some differences there as well. But the first thing I want to talk about as we look at these is that the footprints on both of these optics are identical. So we could take that out of play right off the bat. The footprint is exactly the same. This is an Alpha Shooting Sports slide right here, and this has an RMR cut. You can see that the RMR fits perfect in there. This is also an Alpha Shooting Sports slide for the 19, and you can see that the Holosun also fits in there absolutely perfect, and that's because Holosun designed it that way. They know that the RMR cut is one of the most popular cuts on pistol slides, and so they kind of made their dimensions the same as far as the footprint goes, and as far as where the screws are aligned so that people can, use them on their slides that already have those cuts. It just gives you a little bit more availability as to what slides you can pick if this is an optic that you either already own or you own something like this with a slide cut, but you just can't afford to get an RMR. So with that out of the way, the footprints are identical. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the physical differences between these two optics, and then we'll move on to some of the technical aspects. But taking a look at the physical differences from the side profile, one of the most noticeable things is that the Holosun's protective hood is significantly longer than that of the Trijicon RMR. So we take a look at it here. This is the protective hood. That's what protects our glass. It is significantly longer. And this one right here is much shorter. I don't know if that makes a difference to anybody, but we're going to look at these differences and compare them, right? So basically what we're looking at, and I measured a spot that is sort of near the middle right here, and I get basically 6/10 of an inch. When I measure the center of the Holosun, I get 8/10 of an inch. So you're really only looking at about 2/10 of an inch difference in the length of the hood overall versus the other one. So that's one noticeable difference. Now, another difference that a lot of people might notice is that the protective hood, not only is it a little bit longer on the Holosun, but believe it or not, it's a little bit thicker on the Holosun. But that's actually only in certain areas. Because if we measure them both from the center, okay, so I measured them both from the center thickness of that metal is 0.184 on the Holosun, where it's 0.104 on the RMR, but you can see that the RMR actually has a little bit of a dip right here, and the material is slightly thicker at the end. So I'm not able to get a perfect reading to tell you exactly how thick that is, but this has a thicker all-around hood. This right here has basically these protective ears that are a little bit thicker. Now, I can't get that in there to measure the glass, but I can tell you that the glass on the RMR is just slightly thicker than the Holosun. So the glass is just slightly thicker than the Holosun, and that's one thing that you might want to note as well. So physical differences right there, you can see that obviously we have a difference in size of the protective hoods, and we have a difference in thickness of the glass. Now, if you're taking a look at these two optics right now and you're kind of debating which one might be best for your situation, another thing that I want to point out is that the glass, or the viewing area, the viewing window, is much bigger on the Holosun than it is on the RMR. So we put these two together, you see that the RMR actually has a very small viewing window. I wouldn't say it's very small, but it's a smaller viewing window than the Holosun on the right. The Holosun on the right just gives you a better sight picture, if you ask me. Also, one of the things you'll notice here is that the glass on the RMR is quite a bit more green than the Holosun. The Holosun has much clearer glass. I would say by about 50 to 60% clearer than the RMR. The Trijicon optics that are out there right now, including the MROs and some of the other optics, are all known to have a pretty good greenish, kind of greenish blue tint to them. And this one is no different. It's got a pretty good tint to it, whereas the Holosun is much clearer. And that does make a difference in certain situations, especially when lighting conditions are involved. I feel that in lower light situations, this one right here is a lot easier to still see through, even when the light gets a little bit more dim. Now, I should also mention that both of these optics are waterproof and shockproof. However, the Holosun optic actually has a battery compartment that is underneath the optic, and it actually has a door with an O-ring. So the battery compartment is completely sealed off. Even if your screws were a little bit loose, you're not going to have any of your cleaners or solutions or water or anything get inside that battery compartment that could lead to any type of corrosion of your connectors. So I like that a lot. Whereas the RMR, at least this particular model, this is the Type 6, this RMR right here has an open battery compartment that makes a connection directly with the slide, and you would need that slide to make that battery connection. And it has almost like a gasket that goes around the entire bottom of the optic, and when that gasket is sealed up tight against your slide, then it won't let any of the debris, water, or solutions in there as well. However, if this becomes a little bit loose, then you're SOL, because you're going to get, you know, something up underneath there, and it could definitely lead to some type of corrosion and some type of problem. And people have also noted in the past that the Trijicon RMRs have had some issues with their connections being bad. So basically you have a slide that's Cerakoted or a slide that has paint on it, something like that. It may not make a good connection with the battery, and I think Trijicon has actually remedied that situation and put little plates, or sends them out with little plates that will mate up perfect with the battery, and that would fix that problem. So I do want to point that out. I'm not necessarily bashing it. I'm just saying that originally it was a design flaw, if you ask me, and it's been rectified since. So the Holosun doesn't have that problem. Having the battery compartment, you always have a good battery connection. Now, both of these optics are available at Optics Planet. You guys can go over to Optics Planet, use the discount code TDS5, and save a little bit of money on either one that you choose. However, one of these is quite a bit more expensive than the other one. Now, if it seems like I'm coming off in this, comparison a little bit biased, it's because I do have a little bit bias, and there's not a way for me to hide that. I'm not necessarily trying to hide it, but if you are smart, intelligent people watching this video, you can look at the differences that I pointed out and make the decision for yourself on which one fits your needs, okay? But this one right here is significantly less expensive than this one. This one right now I think is going for about $299, where this one's still up in your $500, even $600 range, depending on which model and which versions you get. They can get very pricey. So if you're somebody that's on a budget, this is something that's going to be good for you. Also, it depends what you're doing. Is it home defense? Is it range use? Is it something that you're going to conceal carry? Or is this something that you're going to use as a contractor, a law enforcement officer, or somebody that's going to really, really abuse it? I personally think that if I was going to go out into the middle of the desert and my life absolutely depended on one of these optics being nonstop, won't shut down, battle hardened, tested optics, I'm probably going to go with the more expensive one. That is my personal opinion. But if it's something that you're going to use at the range, you're going to keep at home, or you're going to keep in your pocket just as a standard concealed carrier, I would trust this optic with my life, absolutely. I have run thousands of rounds to it now, not had one single problem with the connections or anything else. So yeah, I totally trust this optic. But there's a history with the RMR, and that history says, look, even though it might have some issues in the past, those issues seem to be fixed, and I would trust this one with my life in a little bit more severe conditions. But again, it depends on what you're using it for, it depends on what your budget is for, and you honestly can't go wrong with either. If I had to pick one right now, let's say I had $1,000 in my pocket and I had to pick one right now, I would buy this every day for what I need it for. I think this really does fit a lot of roles, and it is a great optic. Holosun's really been doing well. So again, I'm injecting my own personal opinion here, but you know, you guys can make your own opinions for yourself. So there we go. That's the Holosun 507C and the Trijicon RMR Type 6. Definitely check them out. I can't put links to these things down below, but you can head over to thefull30.com, subscribe to the Daily Shooter over there, and you will find all the links and even more information than I can post because of YouTube's new firearms policies. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.